The Chicago Federal Building used to look like this, beautiful and full of prestige. Now it looks like this. Let's talk about it. Chicago was booming after the Great Fire. In the 1890 census, Chicago overtook Philadelphia to become the second largest city in the US. There became a great need to build a new and bigger courthouse. Henry Ives Cobb was chosen to design the new federal court building. He designed many other beautiful buildings throughout the city of Chicago, and all over the entire country. He even helped design many of the beautiful buildings in the 1893 Columbian Exposition. President Grover Cleveland appropriated $4 million for the demolition of the old building and the construction of the new. Building was in the shape of a Greek cross. The four wings met under an octagonal rotunda. Because of the four wings and their meeting place, the building was nicknamed the Concrete Octopus. It was designed in the classical Beaux-Arts art style. I probably mispronounced that, but it's okay. The face of each arm of the cross looks like an ancient Greek temple. Many government buildings at the time were inspired by Imperial Roman architecture. The dome was 100 feet tall and 100 feet in diameter. That made the diameter larger than that of the US Capitol building. The federal building held the federal courts and the post office. It was dedicated by President William McKinley in 1899. Many historical events happened in this place. In 1931, Al Capone was put on trial for tax evasions, and definitely not anything else. In 1918, communist terrorists bombed the building. Yes, back then, communists used to do masculine, revolutionary things instead of just LARPing online. Walt Disney actually worked at the post office in the building the month when the building was bombed. He was apparently there that day. We could have lost a man who did more to create American identity and culture than anyone else. Eventually, he did get back at the commies. But looking at his company now, I think they got the last laugh. What were we talking about again? Oh, right. So apparently the building had structural problems because it was too heavy or something. They also needed more room, so the city demolished it in 1965. In my opinion, the city should have restored the building because of its historic value. But if the building could have not been restored and they needed more space, then a new building should have been built in the same style that kept in the same tradition as the other courthouses in Chicago history. The Chicago Federal Building was not the first courthouse in Chicago. In 1853, John Van Ostel designed the fourth Chicago courthouse. He is considered the first Chicago architect who left a big mark on the city. Many of the buildings that came after his were still designed in the classical and Roman style that was prominent throughout his buildings. Henry designed the Chicago Federal Building to look similar to what came before. That's part of the reason why the building is in the shape of a Greek cross. The building was also similar to the United States Customs House, courthouse, and post office of the 1880s. Now, does the style of the new building look like the old ones inspired it? Does it follow in this continuity? No, it does not. Every building now looks the same in every city. No city has its own unique style anymore. And if they needed more room in the Chicago Federal Building, they could have just added another floor. You think I'm joking, but in 1858, a third story was added to the fourth courthouse. So Ludwig Miles van der Rohe is the villain of the day who designed the John Kalunsky Federal Building. He is from Germany and is considered one of the pioneers in modern architecture. He also cheated on his wife. What a guy. I want to read something from his wiki page that will help us understand the modernist mindset of design. Quote, "The mounting criticism of the historical styles gained substantial cultural credibility after World War I, a disaster widely seen as a failure of the old world of imperial leadership of Europe. The aristocratic classical revival styles were particularly reviled by many as the architectural symbol of a now discredited and outmoded social system. Progressive thinkers called for a completely new architectural design process guided by rational problem solving and an exterior expression of modern materials and structure rather than what they considered the superficial application of the classical facades. So in other words, we can't have nice buildings in America because Europeans killed each other in World War I. As if modernist ideologies don't cause wars. Could they have chosen to develop a different architectural style that wasn't ugly? Do beautiful buildings cause wars? They talk about modern architecture being a revolt against the European aristocracy, but America revolted against the European aristocracy all the way back in 1776, and we kept the Romanesque architectural style because it was a callback to the Roman Republic. The more you think about that line of argumentation, the more it doesn't make any sense. America never had a European aristocracy. Why are you shoving this ugliness down our throats? Help me to understand their position. So after the First World War, Germany was going through a rough time, and they elected a party that really didn't like modernist architecture. I think they're named after that one board game. So Ludwig moved from Germany to the United States in order to find people stupid enough to hire him. Then the Europeans killed each other again. So Ludwig brought his plain and bland style from Europe to the United States, even though the world wars were not fought on our soil. The Americans were actually pretty optimistic and prosperous coming out of the world wars. So we didn't deserve this depressing, bland architectural style that was meant to punish Europe. Looking at the building, it's not that bad. It's just a rectangle. I had a friend say it looks like two PlayStations next to each other. I think this Reddit comment sums it up perfectly. It's sad that a building that looks like a piece of graph paper stood on its end is considered a masterpiece. Not to mention that it's depressing. It's a building that anyone of any basic understanding of math could have designed. Where's the challenge? Where's the art? It's just a box. I want to marvel at a building. I want to look at something I could have never drawn up. The inside of the new building doesn't even hold a candle to the inside of the old building. What are we even doing here, folks? Also, can someone explain to me the symbolism of this abstract sculpture in front of the building? It looks like crumbled up ribbons. So the Wikipedia page of the building has a picture of where the building fits on the Chicago skyline, but even though all the buildings are labeled, I still couldn't find it because they all look the same. They're all just rectangles. So we can't have traditional architecture anymore because the Yahtzees liked traditional architecture. I wish that people applied that same logic to being a vegetarian. And what does Chicago architecture have to do with European wars? The people who like modern architecture hate themselves in the past and want to break that continuity that their own civilization has with itself. They do this by designing buildings so bland and ugly that no one would have ever thought to make a building like that over 100 years ago. Chicago used to have a unique architectural style that was recognized all over the country. Now all cities look the same. Don't get me wrong, Chicago, New York, and dare I even say Cleveland and Cincinnati do still have some unique buildings that could have only fit in their city, but they were all built before World War II. There's a quote about Los Angeles from Roman Polanski, but I think it applies just as much to Chicago or any other modernist city. It is the most beautiful city in the world, as long as it is seen at night and from a distance. I would like to thank It's History for making a great video on the Chicago Federal Building. His video is much longer and talks more about the construction of the building and the problems that it faced. Also, as a video editor, I love the little animation of the crane. I used Wikipedia articles for most of the research because this is a YouTube video and I just made it for fun. I'll link those in the description box below. Anyway, thanks for the 50 people who actually watched this to completion. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to help this video grow.